I have had this little plastic bag with 44 6.5 Grendel casings that I cleaned up when I was cleaning up after getting done shooting at the range. Probably 2 years ago. I've been sitting on these that I cleaned them up and I just haven't done anything with them. And I've come across them several times in the last few weeks, and I keep telling myself, you got to do something with those. Just do something with them. So, okay, I finally convinced myself. I'm having this discussion with myself, and self, I said, just do something with them. So I am. I'm looking around, and I also found one sleeve of Federal small rifle AR match primers that had 40 primers in there. I've got 44 pieces of brass, 40 primers, and then I thought, okay, where have I got a partial of projectiles that I need to use that partial up? And I can't find myself a partial that's going to be appropriate because I like, about 120 grain bullet for 6.5 Grendel. You can go a little bit lighter, but I thought, I've been sitting on this box of Lehigh Defense 121 grain bullets for a long time, and I've never even opened the box to see what these things look like. And I thought, you know what? 120 grain solid coppers, I'm going to load these up. Then I'll have a partial to think about with something else. So I open up the box and I'm looking at that. That is a very, very VLD projectile. And I'm looking at the ogive on this, which starts like right there. And I'm thinking, you know what? That's going to be too long to feed up through a magazine. And I wanted to push this through an autoloader. So I got out my calipers and I measured it and just looked at the OAL with the mouth of the casing and where that's going to be. And it's like, yeah, that's going to be too long. It won't feed up through the magazine. Now, what I could do is use a single shot follower on the rifle and I can feed it one at a time. I can use my overall length gauge and figure out exactly how much space I have to seat that out. Maybe, I don't know, 3, 5, 7 thousandths off the lands and grooves and just feed a single shot. But for me, I think that's more of what a bolt action rifle or a single shot rifle is for. I would prefer to do that type of thing with that type of a rifle rather than an auto loading rifle. So I thought, okay, I don't like to generally go 120s on 6.5 Creedmoor, but you know what? I'm gonna save these for the Creedmoor because what I do know shoots really well in the Grendel. These bad boys right there. These ELDs, particularly by the way using CFE 223, they just shoot lights out. So I've got them. I know it works real well. So it's going to be these, and then I'm going to load up, and I'll save the Lehigh Defense for the Creed. I was thinking of Swede, but I got rid of that rifle a long time ago. And I'm thinking, God, why did I sell that rifle? I had a great model 96. Don't sell your guns. Keep them, don't sell them. So I have myself set up now using the mech powder dispenser. I've got that filled with CFE 223, and I'm going to be dropping 30.6, little back of max. I could increase that. I think Hornady will take you up to 31 point something or other. I have found that a little back of max across the board has a tendency to produce really good accuracy just in general. So I've got my notes right there as a reminder, and I get the powder dispenser dropping pretty consistently, 30.3 grains, and then I'll use the mech trickler to trickle up the other 3/10 of a grain. Now, a lot of tricklers, by the way, on this one you can't really tell because the outside of the body is the same going all the way down. But the gap between the bottom of the reservoir where the powder goes in and the tube, because it's got a hole in there and you spin this thing and the powder is going to come out the spout. Powder will go below a little ways the tube where the powder will be dispensed out here. On some tricklers, And I've never quite figured out why they do this. But the space below the tube where it's grabbing the powder to push it out the end of the tube is large. All of this powder down here is never going to be affected by what the tube is grabbing just on from the bottom of the tube. So I haven't quite understood why on a lot of manual tricklers you have such a large gap beneath the tube. Somebody who's smarter than who understands why they did it this way. Would you drop a comment down below, because I just can't for the life of me figure out why you would put so much space beneath that. I digress. Back to the matter at hand. Got my primer flip tray set up right here. I've got my primers out. I've got a lead die set up ready to load the 6.5 Grendel. Now, you've loaded bottleneck casings before, so you know how to set these dies up. Shell holder in the ram, you run this all the way up, you screw down your sizing die until it touches the shell holder. You can stop right there. If you want to do a little overcam, that's fine. Overcam means you screw it down until it touches the shell holder, you lower the ram, and then you turn it down a little bit more, then start your lock ring to set it so it won't move. I don't think overcam's necessary, and I don't like working my brass more than I really need to, so I make contact, stop, and that's always going to work for me just fine. Secondly, when I'm setting up my seating die, I'll take an empty casing that I've sized, and I will have the stem of the seating die up too high. Empty case in the shell holder, run it up, screw down the body of the die until it stops. Back it up just a little bit, maybe a quarter of a turn, and then I'm going to use my stem when I put a projectile on top of that casing, screwed down until I get to the overall length that I need to. And then finally, when I go to crimp the projectile on this die set, it's got the Lee collet style crimper. Now what that does is when you run that up into it, you've got these 4 individual sections and they come together like this. And they're going to pinch the mouth of the casing kind of like that. And you set that up by having the shell holder in the ram, run it all the way up, and you can just look down the top of the die and you screw that down until you see them all come together and touch. Stop right there. That's all you need. Set your lock ring, make sure it's tight so it doesn't walk around on you. So I'm all set up. I have everything I need ready to go, including some wax to lube my casings, because I don't want to get myself started and the very first thing I do is get a case stuck in my die. I've got two loading blocks here, so when I do a step I can move it. I can move this over to here. Boy, I like these Lehigh Defense. I can't wait to load these things up. These things just look... Anyway. I'm not missing anything, right? I'm all set up, I'm ready to go. If I forgot something, you gotta tell me what I forgot. Happy trails.